I wanted to talk about what we're going to do today. We're building a Shoe POS app for the iPad, and I want to kind of go through the steps that we're going to do today. So, breaking it down into 4 different steps. So, first of all, here's our design. And sorry, that should have been actual design, but it's not. So here's where what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off with step 1, which is basically building out the structure of the app. The iPad has a left sidebar, but it doesn't have a right, and you can't switch it. So the only way to do a right one is to just do it custom. So we're gonna build out that frame and make it work, which isn't that big of a deal. And then once we're done with step 1, we'll move on to step 2, which is we'll take the products and we will build the products into the content section, and we'll make that work. And in this screenshot, we're showing different shoes. In the ones we build, we're just going to use one and repeat. Actually cover this particular design in the SwiftUI projects book, which is connected to UI Cloud or UI Kit. So if you're interested in taking this a step further when we're done, you can go to that chapter and do it. It's chapter 9, I believe, in the book. But this is the step 2 that we'll work on. And then we'll proceed to step 3, which will be the product detail. Really simple. We'll just be able to, when you click on a product, it'll show all of the shoe sizes available. And then you can add, in this particular case, you can add it to cart or increment the number of items. Again, I'm not covering that portion of it today. So for now, just we'll kind of just fake it. And then step 4, well, obviously we'll build out the cart and the total and all of that. And as I said, this is all covered in the book. So if you want to learn how to connect it and make it work, that is what you can do. Otherwise, I'm sure if you're interested in making it work, you can do it yourself with any really back-end program. Like I said, I used CloudKit for this particular example, but it can be hooked up to anything. So that's what we're going to do today. I will save questions for the end. So if you have any questions, you can drop them in the channel. And even if you have to leave, just post it and I will comment. I will answer the question anyways. So that way, if you come back, watch it on a replay, it'll be here and you can get your answer. So my Xcode is not running right now. Let's try that one more time. Sorry, I restarted and I did not check. Shoot. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So we are good to go. I'm going to do a quick browse of the project so that you can see what's going on inside of this. In here, in our utilities, oh, I'm sorry. Also, the description has the files. You can download the completed and the starter in there. And if you open up the file, the starter project, you'll see we have a utilities folder. Our utilities folder has the colors already set up. We have custom font added, the extension. We also have this view extension, which allows us to do rounded corners. And we have this edge border that we can add a edge to a particular view. If you go into the assets, we just have one, which is our shoe. And then we have in theme a bunch of colors that we can use, which again, everything is already in palette color, so you don't have to worry about that. So close that. And then inside of our products, or inside of our views, we have content view, and then we also have 3 other views. We have cart, and then products. I kind of set that up wrong, so it should be supporting views but not carts. So anyways, we have products, and then inside of products we have all of the views we need in the supporting folder, and then in cart we have everything we need in the supporting views as well. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to start with the products view, and we're going to create the header. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the products header view inside of that folder, in the supporting folder, and we'll start with that first. All right. So the first thing we want to do here right now, like I said, we are just creating the basically the shell of the app, and in preview I already have everything set up the way we want so that we can preview it. One thing to note, when working with preview in Xcode 14, it's changed a bit. I didn't realize when you have preview layout here, you see that size says size that fits, and if you look at it, it doesn't actually change anything. It's still the simulator. If you click on the icon second to the right where it says selectable, that will change it to size that fits. So again, we're going to create the header of the left side where we have that icon that allows us to filter if we added filter today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this in an H stack, and I'm going to keep that text there, and I'm going to put a spacer here. And then I will change this to say the store name. And I'm going to do another spacer, and I'm going to create a button. And this button is basically the button that we're going to use for SF symbols. That's going to be the filter. And again, we're not going to do the filter today, but we're going to imagine that it works. So system name, and we're going to say line.horizontal.decrease.circle. All right. And then we're going to do, get there, font. And here we're going to say font.system, and we're going to do size, and we're going to set it to 24, and we're going to set the weight to thin. Okay, so right now you can see we have our icon, and it's sitting in blue. So the way we fix that, and let me fix the parenthesis and see if I can space it a little bit better. Okay. So for here, now that we have our font set, we want to update our button. So we're going to say button style.plain here, so that we get rid of that blue that was happening. And then we're going to change our color here to be color.white, which will make it disappear. And then finally, we'll do some padding since it's right on the edge. So dot trailing 15. And now here we want to give it a height. We want to give it a background color, and we're going to give it a border as well. So for the first thing we're going to do is do a frame, and we're going to say that the height is 60. Then we're going to do background color is color.white. And I'm sorry, I don't know why I said this is white, this is black. I'm like, why is the color black and white, and that's okay. So yeah, that's fixed. The offset is set to X, and that's -1. And then finally, we're just going to add our border here. And this is the normal border. This isn't the extension that I created. So all we need to do is say border and then color dot base light gray, comma, width is 1. All right. So Kick Stores just needs to get customized. So we're going to do font, and we're going to do dot custom, and we're going to do dot heavy, and we're going to set the size to 30. Now, this particular way of coding the custom fonts, you can catch in my video. I discuss how I use it and how it works. So if you're interested in that in more detail, feel free to watch the video. So we have our products header, and that's done. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to go to products view, and we're going to go ahead and add that. So products view, and then here we want to embed this into a VStack, and we're going to set the spacing to 0. And we can get rid of this text, and we're just going to say products header view. And for now, we're going to add a spacer so that it is up at the top of the screen. And we'll remove the spacer later once we get our content in. But for now, we'll just use that as a way to keep it work. To just see it visually where we want. And now what we want to do is we want to jump over to cart. We want to update cart so that we can have that showing on the right side. So the first thing we want to do is go into cart header view and create that. And here we're going to do, I'm going to keep that text. I'm going to embed this into an H stack. And then here, we're going to add a spacer. And then inside of this text, we're going to say cart parenthesis 0. And we're going to do custom font here again, dot demi. And the size is 24. All right. And then another spacer. And then an image, which is going to be a trash can. So system name and trash. And we'll give this a system font as well of 24 and a weight of thin. All right, so we have this. And again, we need to switch to size that fits. So that works. And we can then go over here, do dot padding, dot horizontal, and then 15. Then we'll set a frame height, pretty much exactly what we did in the header for products. We're going to do a background color of white. And finally, we're going to do an offset of X -1. Done. All right. So cart header is done. Next, we want to fix the cart total. So that's kind of like the footer. So we have a header and we have a footer that we want to do. So now let's go into cart total view. And again, we're going to go to preview size that fits. And we're going to take the cart total and we're going to use a Z stack to start. So I'll command click on the text and do embed in Z stack. And then but above the text, I'm going to do a rounded rectangle with a corner radius of 10. Foreground color of base light blue. Then I'm going to do a frame with a height, and the height will be 70. Okay, so that's where we are here. Now, we want to take this H stack and we want to put it into we want to take this text and put it into an H stack. And so we can change this to just say total. there. And we're going to add a spacer, and we're going to add another text view, and that is going to be the dollar amount. So $9999 9999. Yep. Okay. So we can do a custom font as well on, custom font on here. And set a size, and we're going to set it to 28. And we can just copy this one and paste it down here, and we're going to change this one to bold, and this one is going to be 47 in font. We can add some padding on the horizontal plane for here, so we'll say dot horizontal on this H stack. And then finally on the Z stack, we're going to do a little bit more padding, saying padding dot top, and that's 15. And then here dot padding dot horizontal there. So this is where we are good here as far as the padding and everything goes. So our cart total view is complete, and now we can go into cart view and add it there. So we're going to go cart view, and inside of cart view, we're going to add the two things we just worked on. So the first thing we want to do is we can just command click, embed into a V stack. We can delete this text, and we can say cart header view, and then we're going to do a border with a width, and this is the extension, and we're going to tell it what edge we want. So in here we're going to say dot top dot bottom, and then the color is going to be dot base light gray. So you can see here we have a top and a bottom, just like we did in the other one. Then we're going to do a spacer here, and we're going to add our cart total view. Boom. So we have our cart header and our total, and that is good. So right now we need to add a couple things to this. So we're going to do another border on the bottom, and we're going to do the top border but not bottom, and it's going to be base light gray. So we have it here. So now we have a border there, and then we're going to do a background with white, and you'll see why we're doing that in just a second. Okay, so now we have our V stack, and now we just need to give it a border, and we're going to put a border on the left side of it so that when it's next to the content view, there's a separator or a line. So I'm just going to copy this border again. I'm going to say that I want it to be leading, and everything else is fine. And this particular cart is going to have a width and a frame. So we're going to do frame width 417. So here we go. So one of the things that I wanted to point out in this particular design, the idea of this POS system is something that isn't really on the everyday average user's iPad. So I'm not really worrying about splitting apps and sharing screens. So this should take the full screen. You wouldn't usually be on Safari or playing a game while you're at work. So it's kind of the concept. I didn't do any of the stuff that I would normally do if I wanted to support multiple apps or split screen stuff. So just keep that in mind, that's why I didn't. Okay, so now that we're here, we're gonna go to content view, and in content view we are gonna add our stuff. So we're gonna do an H stack, and we're going to put spacing, and we're gonna do -5. And so here we have products view. Here we're going to do a spacer, and then we're going to do cart view. Boom. So now we have both of these added. I am seeing one thing that I didn't do, and that's probably because content is the, I think it's in that one. So let me just double check and make sure I didn't miss anything. So there should be a different color on the right hand side. We'll fix it eventually. So right now we have what we wanted to accomplish. So the left side has products, the right side has a cart. Now what we want to do is build out our products. So again, if we go back to our steps, let's look at our keynote, and let's look at the step one is what we wanted to do. And there is a blue inside of that particular, inside of the product's content. And we'll add that in the next step. So right now I don't know why the products, that's weird. I don't know why I put the content as that, but that's the way it is. So the color is inside of content. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work on this step, which is adding the products. And then I was going to switch to the next slide. Oops. So here's one, and here is two. There we go. Okay, so products here is our step two. And this one isn't too bad. We don't have a ton of code to write to make this work. So we want this to scroll up and down. And so what I want to do is I'm going to show LazyGrid, and then I'm also going to show if you wanted to use this in grid. I don't necessarily think that because of products, if you have hundreds and thousands of products, I don't think grid is a useful tool in this particular situation, but I wanted to show it if you're on a smaller scale number, how you can use it. So that's what we will do next. So let's go into, we're going to go into the products grid view, and we're going to add it here. So products grid view. And we're going to add a state variable. So we can wait to do that. We're going to take the Z stack, take the text and add it embedded into a Z stack. And then we can take the text again and we can do embed, and then this will be scroll view. And then we also want to say show indicators. Oops. Show indicators. And that's going to be false. Okay. And now we want to do our LazyVGrid here. Show indicators. That should be fine. Did I spell that wrong? Incorrect. Yes, I did. Shows indicators. Okay. So here we're going to say LazyVGrid, and we're going to give it columns. And we want to have, so what we wanted to do is, depending on the size of the iPad, we want to make sure that it shows as many items as possible. So if we're on an iPad mini, then it can show 2 or 3 going across. But if we're on an iPad Air, which is a 12-inch, then we can show 4 products going across. So we're going to give it a minimum value, and then we're going to let the iPad determine the size of each item. So the first thing we want to do is do a grid item. We're going to say adaptive, and we're going to do minimum of 200. And then we're going to say that we want our spacing to be 10. And then we also have the other spacing in between, so 34. And finally, we can do what we need to do. So I kind of jumped ahead and did the grid when we're not really ready. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this is where our product item's going to be. So we'll go ahead and do product item view is going to be here. And so now you can see it. Now we're going to just go ahead and do product, and we're going to embed it into a repeat. And we're going to say 0 ... less than 50. So you can see here that it's 5. But once we bring it into it's together with the cart, then that'll go down to 2. We'll go down to either 2 to 4, depending on the size of the device. So we have product view. Let's go ahead and update this product item view. So I'm going to command click and jump into that definition. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch so that the preview is set. And you'll see here, I have it embedded into a Z stack. I have the background set to the light gray, and I have the, I don't need this edge ignores. And then I have the product item inside of there. So what we want to do is create it so that the shoe is above the background. I like that effect. I did it in one other live one I did. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to embed into a Z stack again. We're going to set the alignment to dot bottom. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to delete this text, even though we probably need it in a minute. So we're going to say rectangle, and we're going to do foreground color dot white. Then we're going to do a frame min width of 200. And we're going to say the frame height is going to be 168. And then finally, the corner radius is going to be 10. So we have our rectangle, and now we want to go ahead and put the product over that. So we're going to start with a V stack, and we're going to do 0 spacing. So we have in here, we're going to do an image of the shoe. We're going to then show the name of the shoe and the price of the shoe. And usually I give the fake price, but in this particular case, this shoe is accurate in the price pretty much. So I think it's off by a couple of dollars, but last I looked. Resizable. And then we're going to say dot frame. We're going to do width is 188 and the height is 100. All right. And then now we're going to create a V stack, and we're going to set the spacing to -4. And then from here, we're going to add our 2 text views. So text, we'll add the text first, and then we'll modify each one. So we're going to say Air, actually have this. I'm not going to write all of this in here. So this is Air Jordans retro. And then we're going to do another text, and we're going to put 325. Oops, and $1 in front of it. All right. Now we can update the font and say custom dot demi size is 18. I'm going to copy that, paste it below, and this will be bold and 29. All right, so you can see it's starting to push up this, and now what we want to do is we want to create a button that we can use. So for now, we'll do padding, and we'll do dot bottom, and we'll say it's 20, and then another set of padding is horizontal, and we'll say that's at 5. So for now, this is good, but we want to make a button, and I'm going to reuse this button. So I want to create a reusable button. One more thing I need to add to this is a frame, and we'll set the height, and that's 185. And then we're going to do padding again and horizontal and say 5. And then finally, we're going to do background color dot clear. Okay. All right. So in the design, we had a select button underneath the price. And we also have another button that we can do add to cart. So it makes sense to just create one button globally that we can use from one to the other instead of creating or using that multiple times. So we're going to create this Shoe POS button. And in this shoe, we're going to just basically take a title and pass it in, and that way we can make it work. If you wanted to make this work as far as a action, you would just add an action to the params, and then that way it can be useful there. And actually, I'll just do that so you can see. So title, and then string, and then action, parenthesis, arrow, void. All right, so this POS takes an action, so we're going to give it a title. We're going to say select, and then the action here. I don't believe I need to do, I can do it like this, and I can get rid of that. And return. Okay, so here's our button that's taking an action. Again, we're not going to have it do anything. And now this works. So let's make this work. We're going to go ahead and embed this text into a Z stack. We're going to then do a rectangle. And you can do this a couple of different ways. I cover buttons in my SwiftUI in 100 seconds. So you can see a different way of making this work, but I'm using this version. Foreground color dot base light blue. We're going to do a corner radius of 6. We're going to do a frame with a height of 34. And then this is going to take the title, so we can just delete the text, pass the title through, and we're going to do a foreground color of white and a font dot custom, and that's going to be heavy 24. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and embed this into a button. So we're going to say embed, and then I'm going to just do button. Oops, that didn't work. Button and parenthesis action, and there. And then inside of this action, all we have to do is just pass the action. And now this will bubble up to wherever we use this button so that it can be reusable. And you can see that it works. Let's go ahead and switch to the other mode. And that is kind of, let's go 45. Might be a little big for the add to the other button. That's probably why I made it smaller. Let's go back to products view. I'm going to close this panel, open up, Command Shift O, and I'm going to open up the grid and go into item. And here we want to add our button. So we're going to do Shoe POS button with a title. And we're going to say that this is select with an action, and we don't have to pass anything in. So we can minimize there. And now you can see that the select button is added into our item view. And that is good. So now our product item is finished and complete. And when we go back, we can see all of our products here. I'm not seeing, let me go back to product item. I'm not seeing the foreground color, minimum radius. I think this is supposed to be, that's weird. It shows here the background color. I think this is supposed to be background, not foreground. And color dot white. Hold on. Dot fill, parenthesis, color dot white. I don't know why foreground is there. Okay, let's go back to there. Okay, I know the problem. So we have product item view, and this grid view needs to get a color. So let's, so we created a Z stack, and let's do this. So we're going to say this is a background, and it's going to do color dot base light gray. And there we go. So now we can see our grid. And so now we have this, and let's say we wanted to make this tappable. We can add a tap action, or we can put it in a button. Either one we have the option to do, but our products are done. So now let's go over to content view and let's see what happens there. We don't have anything. So we just need to get rid of this spacer and do products grid view. Oops, wrong place. Cart view, parenthesis, in products view, jump. And then here is going to be products grid view. And we have the spacer here, which we should be getting rid of. And that is there. And now, okay, so we got to make a couple of changes because you can note, you see that right now our products is not, because of the way that the product works, it's kind of right up on the, under our header. So we just have to fix that. And we're in products view. So let's see how we can change that. Let's go to the grid and we'll do here. So after the for each on the scroll view, we're going to add a little bit of padding to the top, and we're going to set it to 20. We're going to then add some more padding for the horizontal, and we're going to put that as 10. And so that is where we need it. But it doesn't look right. That looks better. And horizontal, that looks better. Okay, so let's go back. And now we have that padding. So if you want to adjust it even more, you can. And now let's go back to content view. And now we can see. So here we can see that for our, we can see that this grid is going to 4. And then if I want to change the variation to a different device, let's see, here. Orientation, I guess device is, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll run it in a different simulator. But for now, if I run it on an Air and then run it, you'll see that it'll go from the 4 by grid to a probably 3 across on the Air. Okay, so we'll turn it, and so now you can see. So there's the difference in the two. So this one's going to show us 3 because of the smaller device, and this one is showing us 4, and it also is reflecting here as well as 3. I'm going to switch it back to the 12-inch, and then I'll refresh, and then it'll show it here, there again. Okay, so we are done with step 2 of this process. And now what we want to do is work on the cart view. And that is, again, step 3. I'm sorry, product detail. And that's where we select a button and we view a product coming up. And so this particular section is going to be custom. We're not going to use Apple's Modal, but you could. But I feel like we could have more fun just doing it ourselves with and doing a little bit, using a bit of the material stuff to add some blur. So let's do that next. So we're going to go first. We need to do a couple of things. We need to add a stepper view. And we also need to design the size cart that you can see here. And then we'll do this whole product detail. But the first thing we want to do is create a new stepper view. So let's go back into Xcode. And we're going to go into stepper view. Oops. There. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and take this text and we'll embed it into a Z stack. I don't think I need text. I do. I have a text here. So Let's switch it to size that fits so we don't have a huge device. And let's see what we have. First is we have a rectangle. And we have a foreground color of white. We have a corner radius of 6 and a height of 34. All right, next we want to take this and we want to then create an H stack, and that way we can put a plus and a minus in there and make that work. So for this, we're gonna say H stack, and then we're going to give it a button, 2 of them. So we'll say button, parenthesis, action, here, and then here. And we're gonna just go ahead and copy that and paste it. Actually, I'll copy it in a second. So we're gonna do image system name and then minus, and we're gonna do a font with a dot system of 24 and a weight of medium. Then we're going to do a foreground color of base light blue. Oops. And that is it. Sorry, we want to put this image into an H stack, and then we're going to give this a frame width of 50 and the height of 34. Okay, so we have this one. Now we can go ahead and copy this, and we're gonna put a spacer here, and then we're gonna paste in the next one, and then this side we're just gonna say plus and save. And now we have a plus and a minus, as you can see here now. So plus minus, and then our text stepper here will be what we display, and that'll be 1. And inside of there, so we just have to modify the H stack a little bit. So we're gonna say frame height is 34. Our background color is base light gray, and our corner radius is 6. And then text we want to add, we're gonna say font, and we're going to do custom. We're going to say bold and put that as 27. And finally, foreground color is set to base light blue. All right. So that's our stepper. Pretty easy. So what we want to do is when the size gets selected, you'll say add to cart, and then you'll flip it to where it'll then show the increment of the change. And I'll actually show you the version I did with CloudKit, because I have all that stuff, like the products and everything is in there. So I'll show that at the end so you can see it functioning with data instead of just repeating stuff. So we have our stepper done. We now need to go into cart item and do that one. So let's jump into there, cart item view. And in here, we just want to display the cart item, obviously. And we're gonna do this command click and embed in an H. And then we're gonna click again and embed in an H. And then click one more time and embed in a V. Okay, so that's good. Our second H stack is gonna have spacing of 10. And our entire H stack is gonna do an offset of 0. Okay, inside of our V stack, we're gonna set an alignment. I hate when it does that. We're gonna set an alignment of leading. All right. Then in here, we are going to add a few things. So first thing we need is a spacer. So, and we have our text view. So we're going to keep the text view there. We're going to do a spacer. All right. And then we're going to change the text for this is going to be the product text. So we can just add that here. And we're going to then go ahead and say font, custom dot regular, and size is 18. We're going to do a frame of infinity. So dot frame, and we're going to set the max width to dot infinity. We're going to set the alignment to bottom leading. And then finally, we're going to do padding dot leading. Okay. So there's a new little thing in iOS 16 that I wanted to point out. And in this particular case, we don't need it. But I'm going to add it and then I'm going to remove it just so that you can see. So in line limit, we can now do line limit and we can set it to 2 or whatever number you want. And then we have the new parameter, our new variable called reserve space. And if we set that to true, it will now take up 2 lines of space. And let's fix this so it's done. So you can see here, it's counting for 2 lines of space. If I comment it out, it's in 1. So it's a really nice feature that if you want something that you know will be 2 lines or 3 lines and you want to reserve the space, that's what this will do. The only negative I feel is if I would like the reserve space to be true, but I would like the font or the text to start from the bottom and build up. And that isn't available. So unfortunately, I feel like line limit isn't really useful for me, but I wanted to at least bring it up. I commented out the code so you can see it. And it's in the completed project as well. Okay, so now we have an H stack that we're going to add. Then inside of here, we're going to do a Z stack. And this is going to have an alignment. And then we're going to add an alignment and we're going to do horizontal and vertical. So we're going to set the horizontal to leading. We're going to set the vertical to top. All right. So then that's our Z stack. And then inside of the Z stack, we're going to add our image of our shoe. So the image, and then we're going to say shoe -1, and we're going to do resizable. And we're going to say that the frame in the width is 107 and the height is 57. All right, so we now have our Z stack there. Let's move this so the line is there. Okay. All right, so we have our image, and now inside of this, underneath it, we're going to add another Z stack, and we're going to do a rectangle with a fill, color dot base light blue. Then we're going to do a frame, and we're going to set the width to 49, and we're going to set the height to 30. All right, and we want to show the amount of shoes we have in here. So now we have that we're going to put the text on this background over this rectangle. So then we're going to do corner radius. And another thing I like to do in here is do corners on the sides, on specific sides. So corner radius, comma, corners. And then we're going to do top right and bottom right. Couldn't get that one out. Finally, we're going to put text and we'll just say 99. All right. And then we just need to design or customize this. So we're going to do font and we're going to say .custom and .bold. Size is going to be 26. And then the foreground color is going to be white. And finally, the offset, because it's not really where it needs to be, the offset is Y and 2. And then our Z stack needs a bit of an offset. So we're going to do an offset there. And that Y is going to be -10. And that's a little off. Let's see. There. Okay. So we have our product, and we have the shoe 107.57, and I'm just looking to see if there's anything we're missing. And line 50, the last bit we have, everything is good. So everything is in here. Just get rid of the extra line space, and here Alandis will tell me I left it there because I tell him when he does. Okay. So now we have our product in, and we just need to show it in the cart. So we're going to go back to the product, or we're going to go back to product detail. Oops, did that again. Product detail. And here is our product detail. We're going to go ahead and do, so here we're going to actually use the orientation. And what I did was I added a light blue to the background. So that way we can see that our blur works when we're ready to use it. So that's why it's there, but it's only in preview. It's not in the, what you'll really see when the blur comes up is the products behind it. But I wanted to actually have something that we couldn't see when the blur's in effect. So that's why I did that. So let's go product detail, and let's figure how we're going to make this work. So there's a few things that we need to create. So we need to create a close button. We need to have content, and we need to have a header. So all of that is a little bit of much to put into the body. So what we'll do is we'll create a couple variables that'll make our code structure a little cleaner. And you can swap things out and see as you fit how you want to do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is do var content, and I'm going to say sum view, and then I'm going to put a scroll view in here and say shows indicators, and I'm going to say false again. I don't know why, but I don't like the scroll view bars things. So here's the grid. We're going to use grid on this one. And as I said, I wouldn't probably use this in a normal environment because grids are not supposed to be a large number of items in it. But I wanted to show, and since we're only putting in about 30, this won't really affect performance. But if you're going to do this in a real environment, I would not use grid. I would use LazyVGrid. And I put this also in the code, so you can swap it out, but I wanted to just show how you could use, show people how grid works if you haven't really messed with the new iOS 16 version. So we have this horizontal spacing, and we're going to do 15, and we're going to do vertical spacing, and we're going to set that to 10. All right. Let's see if I can get a little bit. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to do a for each. And I'm going to do 0 ... less than 10. And then here, I'm going to say row in and hit return. And now I'm going to create a grid row there. And now I'm going to create another for each. And then I want to have 3 items per row. So I can do, and this also won't be flexible if in resizing. I don't think it really matters because this one isn't going to be that big, but this isn't going to be flexible as far as resizing goes here. And then this will be column in there. And then finally, did I do that right? I don't have 2 grid rows. Let's try size, item, cart view, and save. And right now, nothing is working. Okay, so nothing is working because I don't have anything added to the above. So let's go ahead and structure. For right now, I'm just going to change it to content view, but this is not going to be the overall structure. So there's your size, item, cart view. We'll go back and fix it in just a minute. So that's there. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and I'm going to add the next section. So we need a close button. So I'm going to add that next, some view, and then we're going to do a Z stack, a circle. Can't type tonight. Fill color dot white. So I'm doing this because SF symbols, the X is see-through, so I don't like it see-through, so I'm adding a white circle behind it, and that's what this is for. So if you don't mind it, then you can use it without this, but that's why I'm doing it this way. 45. All right, and then I'm going to create another button, and I'm going to say that the action here is going to be binding. So we can say at binding, var is visible. So what we want to do is we want to hide the product detail until we're ready for it to be seen. And we want to pass this variable into this so it can be shown, hide, and so that we know what it is. And then we can toggle the hidden by clicking the close button. So here we're going to do is visible toggle. And now that works. Okay. And then inside of our button, we're just going to add an image with a system name. And we're going to set that to xmark.circle.fill. And we're going to do font parentheses.system with a size of 45 and a weight of heavy. And finally, we're going to do a button style of plain. All right, so our close button is now in and working. So we can minimize that. We want to add, we have our content. We just need to add our header. The headers, there's a lot of code, and it just makes it easier for me to just add it and we can move on. So we're gonna add the header, and I'll go through what I did. So in here, we have this rounded rectangle, and that's gonna be the background. Then we're taking an H stack and then putting in a V stack, our text, the style, and then like the product number that's being displayed with a spacer. And then we're using our shoe and our price, and we're displaying it there. So now we can come up here and tweak the body so that it works. So the first thing we want to do is we can command click on content and embed it into a Z stack. And then we're going to set the alignment. And we're going to say alignment again. Horizontal will be trailing, and this will be dot top. All right. And then content again, I'm going to open this a bit just so that you can see the code. I'm going to embed this into a Z stack as well. And then I'm going to do one more command click and embed in a V stack. I'm going to set the spacing of the V stack to 0. And now we have our content. I'm going to go ahead and add the header, and that'll be here. And then inside of our Z stack, not the main one, but the secondary one, we're going to do a couple of things. So I'm going to add the close button and add a bunch of modifiers. I'm just going to go ahead and add that for you. Okay. And now we have our close button. And then finally, we're just going to add the background, and we're going to do .ultra thin material. So now it's going to refresh, and let's see what happens. Previews doesn't want to play nice. So right now, previews is not playing nice. And this is a common thing. I know what it is, but I just wanted to point it out. So whenever you have something that's passed in as a variable, it needs to be passed in as a variable down here for the missing argument. So we're going to say is visible, and we're going to use .constant, and we're going to say true. Doesn't really matter what you put in there, but now that will go away. And now we have our header and then the product and the price and the name and all of that. So now what we want to do is we just need to create the item that's being displayed. And right now it's not being displaying anything. I'm going to also switch when we come back, I'll switch it to, I'll show you both versions of grid. And as I said, the completed file has both. So you can see the difference in the two. So let's go into, we'll command click into the product size chart, size cart, jump to definition. And we need the size cart item here. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pass an index through, and that is just for testing purposes. So we're going to say index and integer. Then we're going to pass in that variable here, and we'll just say 1. I'll explain what the index was for, but it's just for testing, you'll see. So first thing we're going to do, again, is embed in a VStack. We're going to embed in another VStack. We're going to embed in an HStack. And we're going to embed in another HStack. A lot going on. We have two sizes. We have the size and then the value of the size text and then the shoe size. So in this particular case, we have the size and then we have the value of it. So in this case, 13. Let's hit refresh, and now that should update what we need. Refresh. Oh, now it's erroring because I implemented size cart item and it's now complaining. So here we can just say index : and then previews will now work again here. Okay, so let's go to the size that makes it work, and now we can expand it. So we have the size showing, and we want to just do a bit of an offset. So offset, and we want to set that to x-5. Good. So we have our size, our x there, and then we want to put a spacer after this. So spacer, and then we're going to do a VStack. And then inside of here, we're going to set, we want to display the quantity of this. And we're going to do a spacing of -8. So I'm going to just replace the VStack and put in this spacing. So here you can see we have size here with the value, and we have quantity here. So that would be what's in inventory at the time. And so we have the VStack. Now we want to basically say, for testing purposes, we want to display both so that we can see the stepper and the button. So right now, what we'll do is we'll fake it. So we'll say if the index that's being passed in is an even number, we're going to display add to cart. If it's an odd number, we're going to display the stepper. And that will be the way that we make this work. And then this button is missing an action. And now you can see here it works. So down here, we have indexes set to 1. So if I command click, hit group, copy, paste, set this to 0, you'll see that now we have this one. And let's make this inside of a VStack instead and not a group. Hold on. And then we'll set the preview size, preview device dot size, preview layout dot size that fits. Boom. Okay, so now we can see both versions of our button, one that shows add to cart, and then once you add to cart, this is what you see. When you increment, boom, 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 this will update the value. When I decrement, if I go down to 0, add to cart will show back up. So that's how that works. We just need to add a spacer here. Okay, and we just need to add some text or some modifiers to this. So we have our VStack, and that one is going to get the modifiers. So we're going to do that. And unfortunately, that is not showing up well. So we'll say 20. I don't know why it's getting cut off. Maybe just because of the way that preview's working. Size that fits does not work. So we're going to do fixed. We're going to say that the width is 300 and then the height is 400. We'll say 600 maybe. Okay, I don't understand. Maybe because this should be a bit taller. Yeah, okay. 100 should be fine, but that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna change this back to 100 because I think it's just preview that's jacked. I'm gonna put the height here, there, and there. It's not letting me change it. It's fine. I don't know why in previews it's messed up just because of the way I did this. So we'll leave it as is, but it is working fine. So size item cart view is displaying. We're going to come back over to here and we will see this item refresh. And now we can see that it's not working or not displaying the way it should be here either. But you can see the blur effect that's happening in our product. And all I need to do is just fix this size item cart view. For some reason is not cooperating. So I'm going to jump to definition and I'm just going to replace and refresh and fix that. There we go. Okay, so now it's working. Let's go back and update. Perfect. Okay, so everything is working in regards to being there, but we still need to just tweak it a bit in products detail because it's not actually doing what we'd like it to do. So all the color and horizontal and padding are there. For some reason, content is weird. So let's see. We have padding on here. So we're going to take this grid and we're going to add the padding we need there. And that fixes the padding so that everything now aligns the way it needs to be. So right now we're using a grid instead of a LazyVGrid. So I'm going to add another one. I'm going to call this content view 2 v2. And this version is using a LazyVGrid. And so if we go ahead and replace it, content v2 and save, you're not going to really, well, see, now you can see how the versions of version 2 is actually showing a smaller version set than version 1. And so again, I would use grid if it's not going to be in the case of if you wanted to resize, I would use LazyV, and grids I would use if you have a fixed width, or either you can do more like controlling widths and heights, but it's a special use case for using grids, and so I wanted to show that here. But as you can tell, this shows a different version. So when you go with this, it's pretty much going to be 3 by and then down. But if you do the V2 version, it's going to adjust. So right now we're seeing 7 of the sizes, but once we move it over to products view, we'll see a different thing. So we're going to go back to product grid view, and here we're going to say on tap gesture, and in the tap gesture we're going to make it so that our products so that our product displays the grid. So right now we need to create a state variable, and we're going to say that this state variable is going to show the grid. So we're going to say at state private var is product detail visible, and right now false is false. We also have is visible here, and that's what we want to pass in. So we're going to say is product detail visible. Did I not do that right? Hold on. Let me see what it's complaining about instead of guessing. Product product item view on tap. On tap gesture. Oh, so we're going to say is product detail visible toggle. So that's there. Let's Command B and build and make sure everything works. Okay, so everything is working for that. And now I'm going to go back to content view. And then in content view, I'm going to get rid of the spacer and say products grid view and save it. I'm going to close this left panel. I'm going to open this one and run it. And now we have products grid in the wrong place. So that's gone. And then in products view, we have our grid view, and products view has our grid view. What do we need to fix? So we have the spacer we don't need. Go to content. Go to content view, and we have this. And then let's go to here. And then if I tap on a cell, nothing happens. I scroll, nothing happens. So let's go products. I'm going to go down in the grid, go down, and then on tap toggle. So what we're missing is we actually, right now, we just have the products grid, but we don't have the detail view. So what needs to happen is here, we just need to add our products view in this section. So we're going to do product detail, and then that is where is visible, and then this is where we pass this detail. So now when this toggles, it's going to then appear above the grid. And let's go back to content view, and you can see that it's showing up by default. So did I set it to true, or did I set it to false? Let's run the project and see what's going on. I think it may work in the sim. So weird. Oh, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. Okay, so let's go back one more time to products grid view. And down here, I set it, and it's set to visibility is, it's supposed to toggle the visibility, but I didn't actually do that yet. So I need to put an opacity on it. And now I'm saying if the visibility is set to true, then we'll set it to 1. If it's not, we'll set it to 0. So now this will go away. And then finally, we want to do a little bit of an animation. So we're going to add an animation, and just a default one, and we'll add the value here. So now when we tap on an item, we have now seeing the animation happening. And then from here, if I close, it's going to close the product detail as well. So we are pretty much done. All we have to do is just display the cart stuff, and we are good. So I'll show you how that works, and let's look at how the last step that we're going to do. So we created the step here, and now we're going to work on the final thing, which is our cart, and we're going to use a form to make this work, and have the different sections with the product items and the cart, and should take like 5 minutes or so. I'm gonna make it quick. So cart view is where we are, and we have the spacer, and we want to put in the content. So we're gonna say cart content view, and right now it's got no content, obviously, because we haven't done anything yet. So we're going to go into cart content, and let's see, we have our header, we have our total, and we have our item. So we have 2 of the things that we need. We just need to put it all together. So let's do that. So cart content view, and we have a few things, but I'm going to make it quick so that way you can sort of see the end result. So we're going to start with a form. So I'm going to just delete this. I'm going to close the panel. I'm going to do a form. And we, for forms, every section we add is going to be, I'm not sharing my screen, so I should do that so you can actually see what's going on. So we added a form into cart content view, and we have what's known as a section. So in the design, we had 3 basic sections. We had a place where they can add a customer. We had a section for the items that are added to the cart. And then the third section is like if they need a discount, the subtotal, the shipping, the taxes, etc. Okay. So in the first section, we have our view that's going to display the add customer. So that will be what we do here. So we're just doing a system image and add customer with text and having an image here. So that's our first section. In our second section, we're going to add this is where our cart items are going to display. So here we're going to say section for each, and we're just putting 3 in there for now, as like I said, just mocking it up, and we have that done. And then finally, we're going to add the bottom section, which is where our subtotals and everything else is going to lie. And so here we have the HDAC and everything we need here. So our cart content is done. And if I go back to cart view, you'll see now this is there. And then finally, if we go all the way back to content view, you'll see everything working at once. So we have our scroller on the left, we have this on the right. We can then select an item, we can scroll through our sizes, and we can then increment and decrement, add to cart, and do all the other stuff. So all of that is done. And now I'm going to do anybody that has any questions. And then anyone that does not, I will then show you the end result of this with data inside of it. So any questions? Anyone have any comments on this? Please ask me now. And while you do, I will get the project ready. Anyone? Questions, comments, concerns? Recent. All right. I'm going to assume that's a no. So I'm going to show you the project and with actual data coming through using CloudKit. I'm just verifying the one. I did that last minute. I should have prepped that one. So right now, I don't know if I have. I don't see it. Stop. Let me see if I have it in the simulator already loaded. I do not. Okay, sorry. One more time. Let's get to completed. Shoe POS. Trust and open. I know this one is here. So building and running. And right now, okay, so you're not going to be able to, I have to fix my sharing so that you can see it. So give me just a second and I'll switch to the simulator so that way you can see this working. Yeah, it is not letting me share my screen. Okay, let's try it like the normal way of doing share screen. Primary. Okay, here you go. I'm going to minimize this, and here is the app, and it's running. This is all the data that's running from CloudKit. So you can see right now we have different shoe data coming through. This design is slightly different than what we did because I updated it recently. But now if I come here and I add a shoe, you can see the shoes are some of them you can't add to cart, some of them you can. And if I add to cart, you'll see that the cart gets updated. And if I increment, it'll increment the price and show the value also update here. Add to cart. And if I minus out of it and I get to 0, it'll go back to add to cart. So if you're interested in doing this and setting it up with CloudKit, as I said, this is in SwiftUI projects, but this is a good way of learning it. And I actually had fun learning it. It was a bit of a pain at first, but I got some help and I was able to get this working the way that I wanted to. So you can, as you can see, like I said, you can come in and you can add different shoes. So now I can put here champions. This is Jordan 2s. Fila, let's do add to cart, and Fila gets added. Adidas, I can add those to cart, and you can see that that's being added. So yeah, this is the actual one that has data, and hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. I went a little bit, I think probably right around a little slightly over than what I wanted, but I think I covered a lot, and hopefully you'll get something out of this particular live stream. If you have questions, please ask. I'm going to wait a few minutes, and if not, then thank you for coming, and I appreciate you being here.